What's a fact you know that almost everyone is wrong about? Those that can't do, teach is a mockery of a quote by Aristotle. Those that know, do. Those that understand, teach. And those that can't teach, teach Jim. Diamonds are not the most valuable ore. $2,000 to $25,000 per carat. That crown goes to jadeite. $3 million per carat. Anastasia is not a Disney movie, and she is not a Disney princess. More importantly, the whole thing was based on a real life scam. That my mother was right. I'm a super smart and handsome boy with cute dimples. I demand pics. For science. Not sure if it's for most people, but the people I've come across had this wrong almost always. Canberra is the capital city of Australia, not Sydney. I just want to add that the outside of a Sydney Opera House is like little tiles and not big metal panels. Ostriches don't bury their heads in the ground. It would also take at least 2 people to fuck one, regardless of its health. Marie Antoinette never said, "Let them eat cake." The first written account of this story is from 1767 and doesn't attribute the quote to her. She would have been 12 at the time and would go on to marry Louis XVI 3 years after this quote was initially published. The quote wasn't even about cake, it was about brioche. The Mayans didn't disappear or go extinct. They still live in Central America and speak at least 24 different Mayan languages. The last Mayan city didn't fall to Spanish conquest until 1697. Same for Aztecs. Nahuatl is still spoken in Mexico. Leaning your head back is actually worse for a nosebleed. I get nosebleeds quite frequently, and whenever I feel one coming on I just roll up some tissue and clog it into the nostril that's bleeding. It's almost guaranteed to get rid of it in 5/10 minutes, but that is just me. That it's a good idea to make furniture out of old pallet wood. No, that stuff gets treated with all kinds of pesticides when shipped overseas, so you don't transfer any bugs or fungi. You don't want the gases emerging from it in your living room. I've even seen baby beds made from that shite. It's also really cheap wood in Splinter City. Edit. Okay, I was wrong. Most pallet wood is not cheap. My bad. Still Splinter City though. But if you just stacking stuff on it, then no need to sand it, I guess. Anytime something is cheap, it's a good idea to investigate why it's cheap. Porcupines can't throw their quills, but you can throw a porcupine. Long Island iced teas do not have iced tea in them, or Long Island. Your hair and nails don't actually keep growing after you die. Your body just loses moisture and fluids, making your body dehydrate and shrink up. This gives the illusion that your fingernails and hair appear longer. And it's what made people believe in vampires or witches when they'd look at people that had been dead for days and saw their hair and nails grow. MSG is a natural substance. If you say you're allergic to MSG, you're allergic to tomatoes and cabbage and all kinds of natural food. MSG is basically if people started calling salt sodium chloride to make it sound like a scary chemical, then started having allergic reactions to it. Dopamine isn't the pleasure chemical. You see the misconception all the time. Someone indulges in their favorite vice and says, "Gotta get my dopamine rush." But dopamine isn't about pleasure, it's about craving. Our dopamine levels don't spike when we get something we want. They spike when something we want becomes available and go down once we actually get the pleasurable thing. Dopamine isn't the rush of driving fast, it's the green light that tells you to go. That's also why drugs that work through dopamine tend to be more addictive. The pleasure chemical is a title that fits better for serotonin, but still, it's a massive simplification to think that the brain works with a chemical for pleasure, one for reward, etc. There are multiple chemicals involved. Diamonds can in fact be shattered with a hammer. There is a difference between how strong something is and how hard it is. Diamonds can't be scratched by another material or cut. Your flight isn't delayed because the tower says so. They blame it on us, air traffic control, because if the airlines admit the blame on themselves they may have to reimburse you. Edit. It's weather 90% of the time. Those lying bastards. A heart attack and cardiac arrest are not the same thing. Some severe heart attacks can lead to cardiac arrest, however there are many that experience heart attacks unknowingly and carry on their merry way. Cardiac arrest means your heart actually stopped right. It means it stops beating effectively to get oxygen to your body. Asystole means it completely stops. Most people say that trees are good against climate change. They think trees will receive all the CO2. But actually we have to thank phytoplankton for making 80% of our oxygen and for receiving CO2. The myth of Narcissus. Most people think of it as he has fallen in love with himself, missing the distinction and nuance that he falls in love with the image of himself. This is important. If you run into any narcissist, you will notice the image they have of themselves is quite different from who they actually are. A monsoon isn't rain, it is a seasonal wind. Monsoon winds actually bring droughts at certain times of the year and rain in other parts. It's a monsoon outside is not a correct thing to say when it's pouring. It's pouring rain, as if it were a monsoon season in a geographical location known for increased rain during monsoon winds out there. After living in Slovakia for 7.5 years, I got beyond frustrated when people would tell me that I would catch a cold from simply being in cold weather, or that air conditioning in the summer makes you sick, or that you treat a cold with antibiotics, or that sitting on cold concrete will give you hemorrhoids. I tried to refute all of this with actual evidence, but it fell upon deaf ears. I loved my time there, but good lord, the old health superstitions are alive and well. I don't know about the cold part, but if you're prone to hemorrhoids, sitting on hard surfaces can exacerbate them. Sook, have had hemorrhoids every day of my life for the past 15 years. Edit. Oh my god, Jesus Christ, I get it. You read an article somewhere which told you that a hemorrhoid is an anatomical feature in addition to being the name for inflammation thereof. This is well, technically tomato is a fruit level commentary. Organic uses pesticides. It's also terrible for the environment because it requires converting more land to farmland because of the lower yields. The organic label is nothing but a marketing stunt to charge more while appealing to a crowd that wants to be, or appear to be, environmentally conscious. The low man on the totem pole was actually the strongest in the Native American societies because he held up the rest of the tribe. But you still don't want to be that guy, which is the point of the saying. Einstein didn't fail math. Perhaps the legend is founded in the fact that the Swiss school system has a 6 as best grade and 1 as poorest, while the German is the other way round. He was a rebellious student and taught himself upper level math after becoming frustrated with his teachers. He is and always was a genius. They didn't call him Einstein for nothing. That the air in your bag of chips isn't oxygen, but nitrogen, so that your product doesn't stale. It also keeps them from breaking to an extent. That's all for today, folks. Subscribe for more amazing Reddit content. I'll see you later. Bye.